we get that value, 0.4913. What does that value tell us? How far it is from the mean. It doesn't tell you the percentile rate. How far is it from the mean, that value, that z-score? So that's what it tells us. It gives us this information for a negative 2.38. So does everybody see how this is 0.4913 or 49.13%? Did I lose anybody? No. Okay. So what do we want to find out for a percentile range? Right. This part. Not this part. This part. So we have to do some more math. Right. So we're going to subtract that value. So this is the part that we want. This is the part that the value that we looked up on the chart tells us, but this is what we want. So in order to get that part, we have to take 0.5 minus the value we saw in the chart. Okay? So here we get the percentile rank is, it's less than 1. I missed a 0.
So instead of doing 0.5 after, we do 0.5 before. Because you know how the other way we do like 0.4913 minus 0.5, so now we do minus 0.5?
You do minus. Before, what we're doing before is positive z-scores, right? So we're adding those numbers together. Because the value on the chart only says the value from that z-score from the mean, right? So when we're looking at a positive z-score, if we're trying to get the percentile rank, we're going to have to add those values together. Okay? So the shaded part is the part that we got on the chart, but we want to see what percentile that is, but we're missing, that 0.5 part. That's why we have to add the 0.5 to that value we saw in the chart to get the percentile rank. But when we're going negative, we just have to do it a little bit else. Because in whatever value we find in the chart, it says how far is our value from the mean. And if we're looking over here, how far is this value from the mean? It's looking at here, not here. So instead of adding, we have to subtract. So positive, whatever number you find up in the chart, you add 0.5. Negative, whatever you find up in the chart, you subtract that from 0.5. Is everybody with me? I'm going to post all these too. Okay. Now we're going to switch gears. So what were we finding up to this point? What information did we have already? Z-scores. We had the z-scores. And from the z-scores, we were trying to find the percentile, right? But of course, there is another way. Sometimes we will have to find the z-score when we know the percentile. That's like the homework. Okay? So there's two different ways. Okay, so here's like from the homework. To get the directions exactly. So from the homework, we have this information here. We have the percentiles already. So we have the homework so I can read the instructions real fast. So it says, so you want to determine what each grade a student should receive. So the first part is you have to find the percentile cutoffs, okay? And you want to find the cutoffs for like the lowest percentile rank for each grade. So we don't have to find the percentile for 84 and 100, 65 and 83. We just need to find it. So right here, right? 65, 18, 10, 0. Those are the cutoffs, right? So you have to get at least in the 84th percentile to get an A. What is the z-score for the 84th percentile? That's what we're trying to find. What is the z-score for a 65, right? So again, it's similar to z-scores. So z-scores, there's one way to do it if it's a positive z-score, and there's another way to do it if it's a negative z-score. It's kind of the same thing when we're doing percentiles here. So there's one way to do it if it's above 50%, and there's another thing that you do if it's below 50%. Okay? we're going to start with a percentile that's above 50%. So the first one is the 84th. I know the answer is already on there, but a lot of people looked at it but didn't know how they got the values they got from the 84. So we're going to start by looking for what is the z-score cutoff for an A at the 84th percentile. Again, I like to kind of look at this graphically. So one thing that we have to know is we're going to have to, in order to find the z-score, we're going to have to look in that ugly chart. We're going to have to find not the, before we were looking for like the z-score and then finding that percent. This time we're going to be getting something within that chart, that number, in order to find the z-score. So what number do we go in there? We already know that we can't do 0.84, because if you even try to look in the chart, it doesn't go up that high. Right? So we have to keep remembering that this value that we're seeing inside the chart is saying how far that it is away from the mean, right? We say that the mean is 0.5. And here's the 0.84. So the value that we want to look up in the chart is this value right here, right? This is the number that we want to find. To find this number, we have to do 0.84 minus 0.5 over here, because we don't need this information. We just need this, because this is the number we have to look up in the table. Is everybody with me, or did I lose anybody? Okay. So, here again, is this a percentile that's above 50? We're going to find what number we use on the chart. We're going to take whatever that number is, 0.84 minus 0.5. So look at the next. What is the percentile cutoff for a B on the homework? 65. The 65th percentile is above 50. So how would we find the number to look up on that table? 65 minus 0.65 minus 0.5, which is 0.15. So we're going to look that number up on the chart in the middle part, right? So here we found that it's 0.34. That's the value that we're going to go look up in the chart for the 84th percentile. Okay? So here, I'm trying to find which of these numbers is the closest to 0.34. It won't be exact, but the one that's closest. So it doesn't matter, say it's in between these two numbers. What it would be is whichever one is closest to that value.
So it could be above or below.
It could be above or below, just whichever's closest you're going to pick. So the closest to 0.34 is this, 0.389. So how do I get the z-score from that? Yeah, you just kind of go over. The chart is the opposite way. So 0.99.
On your answer that you just gave us, it would have been 1%, 1.0, because you put like on your answer you give us like 15, 17 as the cutoff, I guess, but on that it's showing like the closest like round to. So this one is rounding to 8, which turns it into 3. So that's why I got 1 close to 8 turns into 5.15.
Did everybody get the basic concept? So maybe I have some answers that I have to look on it to make sure.
Why couldn't it be like 0.3413 or 0.3438?
All these numbers. It's the whatever's closest. Maybe I missed it. Is there one closer to 0.34?
No,
It's right. Yeah. You're getting whatever value is the closest to that 0.34 that we got when we subtracted 0.84 from minus 0.5. That is the closest value to that. Okay? So we find the z-score from the closest value. If you're still struggling, see me after class, because I could maybe think better or show me. Okay. This part is very confusing. Which part?
But we couldn't just use the equation, like the percentile equation?
No, this is very different. If you were putting like what is the percentile equation? The below minus divided by n times 100, that has nothing to do with what we're doing right now. Nothing. And then what you can see is because we're talking about z-scores and tables and things like that, it's separate. It is separate. If you see anything about z-scores and all that other stuff, you know that just forget about this formula. It's something else. There's different ways to get percentile ranks. One is from z-score, one is from this number. This has nothing to do with what we're doing right now. We're doing the z-score way.
Because my problem was on this, like on the finding the number that's the closest, like the closest number to the 0.3389. Like on this other one, on 65 minus 50, you didn't show us that example. So like I got a different answer than what you had there. Like because I didn't choose the whatever the point whatever. The one that you had chosen. What happens if you get it different?
So you're saying that you got the 0.15 to look up.
No. I'm saying like okay, because you already had that answer for us. The 0.3389 on the homework, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what my numbers are correct. Tell me what you were doing. I can see if that's correct.
Okay. So like on the other one, I did this like this on my own, but I'm talking about like the point.
15, 17?
Yeah, the 15, 17.
Right.
I chose the one in front of it instead of that one. Does that matter if you choose a different?
It does. Why does it matter? Which is the closest value? Because 0.1480 is 20 points away, or point. Yeah, when it's 20, the other one is 17. So one is closer than the other. You want to get whichever one is closest to that value. Closest to that value.
Okay, if it's for us, it's easier to use the other charts that we use in step 1.
No, you have to use this chart for this exam, and you're gonna have this chart during the exam. So you want to make sure that you know this information. If there's an easier way, that's great. But we're having to do what's in this book and done in this way. That's why it's important to understand. Yeah, there's probably an easier way. Where are we lost?
The last part, this whole finding the percentile cutoff for this.
Okay, so now we're at, before, up to this point, we knew what the z-score was, and we're trying to find the percentile rank. Here we know what the percentiles are, but we're trying to find the z-score. Okay, so for the first example, because it's very similar to before, there's one way to do it if it's above 50%, 0.5, and there's something else to do if it's below 50%. Okay? So above, we're going to do one practice something that's above the 50th percentile, the 84 first. Okay. So we're trying to find the z-score cutoff for an A at the 84th percentile. We know that we're going to have whatever we're going to use, we're going to have to find in that chart. So we're going to find something in these bulk of numbers. We don't know what the z-score is. We have to find which in these bulk of numbers to go. But what does each of these numbers tell us? The number away, how far is that z-score away from the mean, right?
What I'm confused is the numbers under it.
Because we haven't got there yet. Because we haven't even touched that. So why we're subtracting 0.5 from 84 is because we're trying to find what number to look up on that table, right? So we have to find out what is this z-score. But what we have to know is what number to look up on that chart. And we know that that chart is looking from that value, how far that value is away from the mean. So we need that number here. To get this number here to look up on the chart, we do 0.84 minus 0.5. Okay. Is everybody with me for positive? We're doing this, and then we'll look that number up on the chart. And that number, the closest to 0.34, so it has a 0.99 z cutoff. Can everybody find, if it's above 50th percentile, find a z-score for something that's above a 50th percentile?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. There's different for stuff that's below it again. Okay. The wrong way. So let's find something that's below the 50th percentile. Let's look at the 18th percentile, right? So over here. So again, for this homework, we only need to find these are the cutoffs. You have to at least get the 18th percentile to get a C. So we'll look that up. What is the z-score cutoff for that? Again, we have to think when we're looking at this, when we know what value to look up on the table, this is what we need. We need this value here to tell us what the z-score is for here. we need to find this. So in order to find this, we have to do 0.5 minus the value to get 0.32. So if it's above the 50th percentile, we take that value and subtract 0.5. So it's 0.84 minus 0.5, 65 minus 0.5, 87 minus 0.5, right? But if we're going below 50%, we're doing it the opposite because we just have to find what this value is. So it's 0.5 minus whatever that percentile is that you know. Is everybody with me? Yeah. Okay.
What about the last one, like for if?
Hold on. Let's finish this one first. So then we find this value of, we have to find the number on the chart that's closest to 0.32. Okay? And again, you want to be very careful that you find out which is the closest to point, because you're going to see some that are close or around the same area, the one that's closest to 0.3212. And how do I find the z-score from that? Just go to the side. It's 0.92, but it's not just 0.92. Why? It's a negative, right? Because it's over on the other side.
So do we just
So it's going to be
negative?
negative. It's a negative 0.92, right? Because it's over on this side. So if you're trying to find the z-score cutoffs for something that's below, the 50 percentile, whatever number you get from the chart, it's going to be negative z-score.
That's what got confused.
Yeah. Whatever on the other side is going to be negative z-score.
I'm confused.
Okay.
Where'd you get that it's a negative? Negative.
Because it's on the
below
it's below the 50%.
Oh, no.
So anything, if you have, sometimes it'll be like the z-scores over here, it'll be 0, or sometimes you'll see it 0.5 or 50%, the percentile here. So if we're doing anything below the 50th percentile, the z-score that you find is going to be negative. Anything above the 0.5 or 50th percentile is going to be positive. You with me?
And how does it become a 0.92 when if we go that way it's 0.9? Where do you get the 2 from?
That's a good question. Yeah, because we only get one decimal point on this side, right? And the top is getting that second decimal point. So we have 0.9, and then going up 0.2, so it's 0.92. Good question. Okay, here's the time. Who is lost? Who thinks that they could, if they had the percentile rank, they could find the z-score from a percentile rank? Anybody still really lost? What if you had the z-score and you needed to get the percentile rank? Do you think you could do that? Okay, so let me see the homework. All right. So again, on the homework, one is the value from Appendix A. That's where you're just going to put the number on this chart here. And then the z-score cutoff is whatever is associated with that. We're going to need that when we're assigning letter grades to these students, right? Here's another question that people have. So we're down at the last part of this homework, right? There's a score that says the student number, so student number 2. And again, just because there's some confusion, student number 2 is right here, and they got a score of 11. That's their raw score. What is the difference between a raw score and a scaled score? This is chapter 1. What's the difference between a raw score and a scaled score?
A raw score you can't really make comparisons because it's just the raw score. You don't really, if somebody told you got an 86, so that doesn't really need anything unless you know out of how many it was or like how the other part of the class did.
Right. So the raw score is just what they actually got on the score. So this part is easy. So you just look up the second student, they got a score of 11. That's their raw score. So you just transfer that over, right? The scale score is if we do any sort of transformation to it, so we can interpret more meaning from it. So like a z-score, that would be a scale score because we're transforming that score. All right. So the next part is so we have to find the z-scores for these students. What is the formula to find a z-score?
X minus the mean over the 17.
So score minus mean over the standard deviation. So for student number 2, got a raw score of 11 minus our mean, 12.54. Divided by what was our standard deviation? 3.65. And what do we get?
Negative 0.42.
Negative 0.42.
Wait, for
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Negative 0.42. So this is their z-score, and this is where we come up to where we have their cutoffs about what kind of grades to get them. So how do we figure that out? 0.42. Did they get it? In order to get an A, you have to have at least a 0.99 z-score. Were they able to get that? No. So we had to figure all these up, and they have to at least made whatever that cutoff is. For the second, we got 0.39. Didn't make 0.39. They didn't make a B, right? What did you guys get for C?
Oh,
I mean,
negative point.
sorry.
Negative 0.9.
Negative 0.92. Did they make that?
Yes.
Yes. And again, people get confused with the negative. So if it was me, and I was looking at, I might even put that in graph, negative 0.42, right? So maybe put it right there, right? So when I'm making sure that I'm assigning grades, because some people will think, what about like negative 1.5? They'll look at the higher number, right? But even if it's the negative, it means it's lower, it's below that. So people get confused on the negatives. So I would draw it out. You might even put the cutoffs in here, like 0.99, 0.99. So I might even put them in graphically, and then put the point in for the students to make sure that you're making the right choice, because it's easy to get confused with the negative z-scores. How do people feel about the homework now? Better? Yes. Zero, you're just going to do like below the number above. So what did you guys get for?
I'm not talking about that last one. I'm not talking about the last one.
Right. For whatever you got above for D, this person was right. Negative 1.28. You're just going to say below. You're just going to put something lower than. You don't actually have to calculate it. Less than 3.99. You don't for the F, you just do whatever below whatever it is that you got for my D. So for me 0.39, I meant for the value of that chart. So less than 0.39 of that value. And then for the z-score, it's going to be less than negative 1.28.
That's just the highest score that the table has.
Right, it's going to be less than.
I don't know how much.
Well, you can put 0 there. Because it's really the lowest amount. Basically, I don't really care what you put that one, because it's just going to be anything that's below, like a negative 1.28, it's automatically giving an F. So even if you identify that on your chart, that's fine if you don't have like specific numbers, because it doesn't make sense. You could put 0. Right?
Well, what did you put 0.5? What did you put 0.5 instead of 0? Because 0.5 plus the other 0.5 would get the full. Because that's saying you did 0% better than everyone else. Like you're saying, like this number, like you have 0.4990.
Right.
You were saying that you could put a 0. Well, you could
you put less than whatever that highest number is. So the 0.499 that you 0.4990, just put like less than that number, which basically means 0. It's the closest to 0 we can get, but it's how do we write it according to what this chart is what's asking. What's in a borrow? Okay, who feels pretty comfortable with this workout? Because we're going to be putting, this is basically a test question. Like, we're walking through this on the test. Not this many, I'm not going to have you, there's not going to be 26 people in the population, because you don't have time. We have 50 minutes, so I can't even test you as much as I would like to test you. So there are 20 multiple choice questions from Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. There is a bit that's identical to what we just did. There's just fewer people and different numbers. So you want to make sure that you know how to do that. So on the test, it's identical to that. And there's also a part, a written part for the scaled measurements. So I'll give you an example. You're going to have to walk through properties and what is the scale of measurement. You're going to write that out.
But in example 0.42, I'm confused on how to find the letter grade. From that 0.42, the negative 0.42.
Yes. Okay, so in this box here, this is where we're looking about the cutoffs for grades. Okay, so here we already figured out for an A is you have to have at least a 0.99. For a B, at least a 0.39, right? So if somebody has a negative 0.42, we have to have this all found out too. What is the highest grade they can get? Did they make a cutoff? Did this person make a cutoff for an A or B? No. Did they make a cutoff for a C? According to this is negative 0.92 for a C. They made that cutoff. They got at least above that, but not high enough to get a B. So you're comparing the Z-score from students with the Z-score cutoffs, right? Everybody with me?
Can you tell me the answers just to make sure that we did it right?
I don't think I didn't bring them with me.
Okay, are you going to upload it?
I can upload it. But are people understanding the concepts themselves?
Yes. Yeah. I was just confused about the numbers.
Okay, we still have some time, so there's more practice we can do.
I was just going to ask, you said there was 20 multiple choice questions for Chapter 1 and 2?
20 multiple choice questions, something that looks exactly like this. So you have to be fast. You can't just be sitting here for 50 minutes not knowing what to do. Otherwise, you're not going to finish, right? The 20 multiple choice questions I don't think will take that long, but you have to be able to do this quickly. You can't.
You said there's a written part also?
Yes, for the scales of measurement. So I'll give you something like, what is a scale for time or something like that? What properties does it have? What scale of measurement and like why? So something like that.
We don't need the blue book for the written part. It's just in the paper. We're
It's just on the test itself.
Do you have any more examples that you can put up on Blackboard that would?
Oh, here's a great way to test yourself for anything that you have. Just take this exact assignment and change the numbers. That's all you have to do. So instead of 84th percentile, I'm going to say 82nd, or just put random numbers in and practice. That's the best thing that you could do for Monday, actually, is putting in different numbers and practicing. Because it's everything. The wording is the same. Everything is the same. The only thing I'm changing is the numbers.
You're going to have the chart for us?
Yeah, the Z-score chart is it's attached to the test. But you have to make sure that you bring one of those long green Scantrons and a calculator that does square roots. Everybody, let's not talk while I'm talking. It's really disrespectful and people can't hear. So you need a calculator that does exponents and square roots, but this cannot be your cell phone. It cannot be an iPhone, or anything like that can get iPad, anything that can get on the internet. Nothing like that. So you want to make sure that you have those, otherwise you can't even do this, right? So we have another question. You have to memorize those because there's not that many. It's not. And here again. There's two different ways to get a percentile rank, right? You can go the Z-score ways with the chart, or you can go the percentile rank formula below over n times 100. That would be an incorrect formula to use on this homework assignment, okay? That's if it has nothing to do with Z-scores.
There'll be room for us to do work and stuff?
There'll be room for you to do work and things like that, I think.
If not, we can
get a paper.
Bring paper just in case, blank paper. 2 pieces of blank paper so I can come around and make sure that you don't have your notes on there. Because this has happened before, and that would be cheating. And this is another really good time to mention cheating. You do not want to cheat in this class. It would be way better for you to get a 0% on this test than to be caught cheating. Okay? I hate doing it, and I swear at least once or twice a year I have to do cheating or plagiarism, and I hate being in that position, but I have responsibilities as an instructor to go through with it. Let me tell you what the consequences of that are. One is you're going to fail the test. Straight up fail. So the other part is I have to report it. You know why I have to report it? Because otherwise, if I just said, I'm just going to fail you from the class, there's nothing documented at the university that was your first time or second time. Some people have cheated, got caught cheating multiple times. They shouldn't be doing what they're doing if that's what that's what their behavior is. So the university wants me to report any cheating so it's documented on your file, and I'm allowed to recommend what I want your punishment to be, but in the end it's going to be up to them to decide. If you have multiple accounts on your record, you could be on probation or kicked out of the university. So just don't do it. It's not worth it. Okay? So I don't want to see any cell phones at all on Monday. Just put them in your backpack and turn them off. If I see it, I have to assume that it's cheating. So the only way to protect yourself is just put them away. You just won't have them out at all. Don't look at anybody else's paper. Don't do anything like that. I really think it's going to be okay. Like, if you understand scale of measurements, you understand how we did this homework. Did you read through chapter 1? For chapter 2, I'm not asking you formulas that we didn't go over in class. They go into more depth in their statistics in the book. But basic concepts I want you to know, like tracking, for instance. We weren't able to go over it in class. It's towards the end of the chapter. I'd expect you to know what tracking is. We can't cover everything that's in the book in class. Okay? Does anybody else have any other questions?
In the email, I believe you said that we were going to be tested in stuff that you didn't go over.
This is what I meant, and this is in the syllabus as well, and I went over it the first day of class. Right? Everything is fair game. Everything in the book is fair game. Everything I say in class is fair game. If I put up a video, that's fair game. Anything could be on the test unless I tell you otherwise. Like right now, I said, if we didn't go over that formula in chapter 2, I don't expect you to know it. That was me giving that instruction to you. But just because we didn't talk about, like, David Wexler in class, that's in the book from chapter 1, I expect you to know what that is. Or some of the definitions and concepts in chapter 1 that we didn't go over in class, I still expect you to know what that is. So it's important that you have the book. There's some things I said in class that aren't in the book.
Yeah.
What else?
So all the definitions are going to be...
Basically what I said. What did I just say? Like everything is fair game except what I said that wasn't, which is... So everything else, fair game. But I can't ask you extensively because you only have 20 multiple choice questions. But I'm telling you very clearly that a portion of it, probably a big portion of your grade, is based on the homework. It just won't be as massive. So you want to understand how you're doing it. So practice this weekend by changing like the numbers, right? And making sure that you go through. Maybe work with a partner in this class. You're going through it. Do you both get the same numbers? Do the numbers make sense? Okay. Anything else? Yes. Oh, okay. How many people were struggling putting the homework online?
I attached like, where it says browse, and then I attached it because
I wanted you to attach it so it worked.
Oh,
yes, because I tried putting it, in the
copy
and it came out really.
Yeah, you get on there, and there's a place that you can browse what's on your computer, and then you can attach it. I want you to attach it today. And here's why: because I don't want to keep all of your papers. Like I just don't want to keep them. I want to return them back to you. But if I have it on there, I have it documented that you turned it in. Right? So if I don't have it on Blackboard, then you didn't turn it in.
Do we have to attach them again if we get paid?
If it's already attached, to Blackboard. I don't care if it's correct. I just care that you did it. I'm going to look through what you were doing and make sure you did it. If you turned it in on Blackboard and in class, and I can see that you did something, you'll get the full 10 points.
Oh. In the library.
You almost got it.
Because this is 10 away, and this is 13 away from 10. That's your answer. This 9B. And then
Is that the, oh, that's
that's just so that you can refer to it.
It doesn't go into really specifics. It might talk about like some things about personality tests that we took in class, but it's nothing that's so
57.
No, this person did this.
So are these numbers?
I'm gonna turn in all work. I submitted it. I'm gonna turn in my notes.
You have to go
I submitted my report
4-3 or 3.
online.
Okay.
I'll see. You turned it or you still like? I haven't sent it yet because I didn't finish it. Oh yeah. It was supposed to last night. We have to. Just write the.
But I'm gonna have to take a test that we use 15 minutes to access it. I just told you that they told me like I was gonna get and then
That's it. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
It was a population.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing.
Well, and I put it on Blackboard.
So I don't turn in here, right? I just write. Yes. And then I'll turn it on Blackboard too. Thank you. Turn it already on Blackboard. Bye, guys.